2 years ago, I made one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made, and that was quitting this process just because I couldn't figure out this whole supplier thing. How do I find suppliers? What do I say in my emails? And what do all these shipping terms mean? I never really found clear answers to those questions, so I just gave up. But now that I know what I didn't know then, I realized I only gave up because I didn't follow this step-by-step framework that guided me through the entire process. And so that's what I'm gonna do for you right now, so feel free to take some notes if you need to, and let's get right into this 4-step process. Step 1 is to create a list of 5 to 10 suppliers per product idea. The outcome you're trying to achieve with this step is to identify high-quality and experienced suppliers. So how do you find these suppliers? Well, there are 2 main ways. The first way is by using Alibaba.com. And the second way is to use Jungle Scout's supplier database, an awesome tool that helps you not just find, but also verify the legitimacy of suppliers. So you can first start by heading over to Alibaba and searching for your product idea. But before even looking at the list, check these 2 boxes to help filter out the suppliers who aren't verified or offer trade assurance. Trade assurance is a program that helps ensure that your product is produced to the quality you expect, is paid for securely, and is shipped on time. If there's any issues at all, Alibaba will actually help you file a dispute and get reimbursed. And while you're here, it's also smart to come down to this section and select the country you plan on selling in. This is really helpful because you don't want to work with a supplier that has 0 experience shipping products to the country you're selling in. And if you're selling in Europe or North America, some of these other countries actually operate under different quality standards. This is all about setting yourself up for success. So once you've done this, you can now start scanning through this list. And when doing so, I'd highly recommend only looking for suppliers who've been selling for at least a few years. You can find this information right under the prices or by clicking into the listing and reviewing this section here. But I just need to warn you real quick, sometimes this information can be very misleading. So to verify the accuracy, head over to the supplier database and type in the name of the supplier. Here, you can see their full shipment history to confirm the date of their first shipment. So how does Jungle Scout know this? Well, it's all done by collecting free information on all the shipments that are imported into the United States and the suppliers who are doing them. With this, you can see exactly how many shipments a supplier has sent into the United States, which gives you a really great idea of their size and authenticity, especially if they've done a lot of shipments. But if a supplier hasn't got much on record, then they may not be as credible or as experienced as you may have thought. So for example, you can see this supplier here has only started sending products to the US within the past 8 years. But if we head back over to Alibaba, you can see how this is much different than the years they have listed as being in business. Coming back to the database, you can also find suppliers with this tool in ways that are honestly much more beginner friendly. So you can actually just type in the name of the company that's already selling this product on Amazon, which is a really great way of finding out which suppliers your competitors are using. And even if you don't know their full legal business name, you can just go to their Amazon listing and copy their ASIN, then come back and paste it here to find their exact supplier. Now personally, this is my favorite way of finding suppliers because if your competitor's product is getting a ton of great reviews on Amazon, then you can pretty much assume that their supplier makes a high quality product. And lastly, just like Alibaba, you can always search for suppliers by typing in the product name itself. Now, step 2 is to start sending out those initial contact emails. The outcome you're trying to achieve here is to send a detailed list of questions to all the suppliers you found. And to do this, you'll first need to track down each supplier's contact information using either Alibaba or the supplier database. On Alibaba, it's pretty straightforward. You simply just click this contact supplier button. But just a fair warning here, Alibaba's messaging system can get a little bit messy, so you may just want to try out the supplier database instead. Here, you can click this button to run a search for the supplier on Google. And oftentimes you'll find that the good suppliers will have a website where you can find their email addresses and contact them that way, which in my opinion is a much cleaner way of keeping track of all of your messages. Okay, now understandably, this is where most people get stuck. And honestly, it's exactly where I got stuck 2 years ago. What are you supposed to say in the initial contact email? Well, to help you out, here's the template we use to send out to all of our suppliers. First, introduce yourself. Then briefly let them know what you're looking for. If your product already exists on Amazon, include a link to an identical product just to make sure they fully understand your intention. And if you're looking to customize your product, as we strongly recommend doing, include a picture with any potential modifications clearly marked. A great tool that you can use for this is called TechSmith Capture, and it's actually free to download. Next, let them know where you plan on selling and how many units you estimate purchase after a sample and a small trial order. But honestly, you don't have to get this right, you're just trying to let them know that you're serious about doing business with them. And then under that, lay out all of your product requirements and specifications. And just keep in mind here, you want to make this as easy as possible for the person reading, so that's why I'd recommend sticking to bullet points. Now for your list of questions, first, it's important to ask if they're a manufacturer or a trading company. So the difference here is that a trading company is more of a middleman that purchases products from a variety of suppliers and then resells them. Generally, you'd rather work directly with a manufacturer because not only will you get the best prices, but you'll also be able to customize the product or at least easily modify it. It's a lot harder to do that with a trading company because, again, they're more of a middleman. However, the advantage of a trading company is that you can often get much smaller minimum order quantities, so there are some positive trade-offs as well. Now, a manufacturer, on the other hand, may require you to purchase a minimum of 500 to 1,000 pieces. On Alibaba, you'll typically see on the company profile page whether they are a manufacturer or a trading company. But another great way to check is to see what types of products they're selling. If you see lots of different products that are typically made using different materials or even different machinery, then they're probably a trading company. Back to the template, ask the supplier for their best per unit price if you were to place an order for, say, 500 units. Except you want to ask for 3 separate quotes here, and these are very important. These are called Incoterms. It's really important to know what these mean, so I'm going to help explain these in the simplest way I can. Let's start with FOB. This is by far the most popular one, and it's actually the same one we use for our products. So this is when the supplier is responsible for loading your goods onto the ship at an agreed upon port. From there, this is when you take over the responsibility for both paying and arranging for the rest of the shipment to go from the destination port to Amazon's warehouses. This next Incoterm is called EXW. This is when the supplier is not responsible for getting your goods to the port. Instead, you and your freight forwarder are responsible for both paying and arranging the shipment to get it from the warehouse all the way into Amazon. So EXW will typically be cheaper, but FOB is by far more common. But in both cases, you'll want to work with what's called a freight forwarder, who is someone that will take the headache out of handling all the logistics for you, especially if you choose EXW. And don't worry, we have a full video later on in this series that shows you exactly how to find and hire these freight forwarders. Now this last Incoterm here is called DDP. It's not the most common because honestly a lot of suppliers just don't offer it, but essentially it's when the supplier is 100% responsible for all the cost and getting your goods from their warehouse all the way into Amazon. Now of course they do charge you for this, so if a supplier does offer you a DDP quote, it's important to check to make sure that they aren't overcharging you. Now that you know all your Incoterms, make sure to ask how much a sample will cost and what the lead time is to receive one. All lead time means is how long it takes to make the product after you've placed the order. Next, ask what their payment terms are, what type of packaging they offer, and whether or not their price includes customizing the packaging. And then ask if there are any additional charges for adding your logo to the product itself. Lastly, see if they have another preferred method of communication. You may find that they can respond much faster through an app like WhatsApp. And then just a quick note here, make sure you send this exact same email out to your entire list of suppliers so that you can judge the responses equally. Now with a link down in the description, you can get access to this template inside our written guide for how to sell on Amazon. It includes step-by-step tutorials, expert tips, free tools, templates, and much more, all for free. So make sure to grab your own copy with the link below. Okay, on to step 3. This is where you begin vetting your supplier's responses. The outcome you're trying to achieve here is to just narrow down your list to the top 3. As your responses start coming in, you can keep track of all of your notes inside the Jungle Scout supplier tracker. This is an incredibly helpful way to begin narrowing down your top 3 suppliers, as this tool allows you to input quotes, sample cost, shipping cost, and any other details you receive from suppliers. You can even take notes throughout the entire process, including how easy communication was. Where this notes section really comes in handy is to keep score of your favorite suppliers. Step 4. This is when you order and evaluate your samples. But first, just a few notes regarding this. It's going to be typical to pay anywhere from $50 to $150 just for a single sample. And the best way to pay is usually with a wire transfer, although you can never go wrong with good old PayPal. The other payment method just to be familiar with is using trade assurance through the Alibaba platform. I mentioned this earlier, this is a great option because it provides you a lot more protection for your payments that you can set. In this case, paying through a wire transfer is actually the main option you'd most likely use, and this is also the same method you're going to use to place your first order on Alibaba. Now, when you finally receive samples, make sure you take the time to really compare them. What's the quality of the sample like? Use it in a way that a customer would and see how it holds up. Also, how quickly did it arrive? Was the communication easy? Based on all that information and more, for each product idea you ordered a sample for, it's now time to narrow it down to your top supplier for each one. And one thing I note here is that a supplier will rarely be perfect in every single area. Usually you just have to weigh up the pros and cons and go with the one that ticks the most boxes. When you've done that, the next step is to combine all of your notes to determine which product makes the most sense for you to sell. I'll show you exactly how to do that in this next video, so make sure to keep watching to learn what to look for when picking your product. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Step 1, dang it. Trade assurance is a free I don't know if it's free or not. So how do you, dang it, jump the gun.